South Africans are raised, my sister. You are South African, you know your brothers and you know your sisters. You are too lazy. This is true. Lazy, you know what I'm saying. You are too lazy. You don't want to work. I don't know what type of you want anything for Mahara, everything for free. You just need free money. As you now, you are busy chasing people out of here, but you don't want to work. You are still staying inside your house, but you want money. Are you okay? Are you okay? You are crazy. You must be stupid. I'm telling you, I'm leaving. I'm not going to come again. But if you want to be successful in your life, you have to think and you have to be work as a slave. Don't just sit inside the house and be busy chasing someone. Still, you're going to be the same. You're going to chase the someone who's going to go. You are killing your own industry. You are killing your own economy because someone is going and the factory is killed. That factory was supposed to pay the tax.
Nikosha abantu bitor ngoba asebenza South Africa. Bahleli nabo, amihambi. Migwazeni. This is too migwazeni vela mchigila. Miyakhira futhi akhuluma nespeed. Midulile. Migwazeni ke. Ngikupela migwaze. I trust really understand. Nakupela. Amasaluna valiwe, shoemaker valiwe. Building imile. Isimende. Building material. Amiyaki. Nkasi yaki. Akirina nikosha. Nikosha ke. Ikhathulo zikrom. Khona mama ufuna isithende this weekend. Uye emncwabeni. Usibani. Mikwetsi la. Kwikwelile.
Due to the high unemployment rates, recent tensions have risen between South African citizens and migrants who come into South Africa bearing certain vocational skills to seek employment and business opportunities. Migrants are often willing to use their skills to seek low-wage employment and entrepreneurship, and employers who hire undocumented migrants often don't take heed to national labor laws in pursuit of profits, often bypassing minimum wage and required work conditions by hiring undocumented migrants. This has been prevalent in major industries such as hospitality, construction, agriculture, and various other sectors within South Africa. South African candidates are often labeled as costly and unskilled labor in need of further training and investment to their foreign counterparts. This raises the question of whether the South African public education system has truly changed and diverted its intention to equip South Africans with the adequate academic and technical skills to be able to compete in the ever-changing job market. Or if the system has still remained stagnant, providing South Africans from lower socio-economic backgrounds with education that will not allow any further progression from lower-level physical manual labor positions. The question is whether the skills shortage and high unemployment rate caused by inadequate education and vocational system, or are the very limited opportunities being snatched up by migrants due to the volatile employment market and South Africa's loose immigration laws and porous borders. The answer perhaps lies in the assessment of the South African education system and the main industry opportunities that said system is able to provide South African citizens at a basic level. The South African mining sector and wider economy were built on the backs of migrant labor, from migrants outside of South Africa and the designated Bantu stands. The exploitative labor arrangement laid the foundations for the city of gold and the economy that rippled from it, while the demise of the apartheid regime triggered a surge of illegal immigration. South Africa's mining sector under apartheid had employed close to 500,000 foreigners. The latest available industry data shows that in 2023, that number had dwindled to 35,000. Overall, the mining industry in the 21st century, as with many industries, no longer requires the services of an unskilled, semi-literate rural base, with mechanization also having played a massive role as it requires a more highly skilled and educated workforce. This has led to an unsurprisingly large number of people from surrounding countries such as Malawi, Mozambique, Zimbabwe and the like becoming zama-zamas who illegally scavenge for gold among the mining industry's skeletal remains, with headlamps passed from previous generations to the next. Illegal mining has contributed to the surge of illegal immigrants. A similarity can be seen with other sectors, where undocumented migrants have been formally employed within various industries in South Africa, with citizens often being bypassed for cheaper external labor. The question is, are South Africans from previously disadvantaged backgrounds truly unskilled at the most basic level, with many South Africans from poor socio-economic backgrounds falling within the gaps of the grant system and permanent unemployment, despite migrants coming in and somehow seeking and finding employment opportunities. Looking at the South African education system, from the time of the first white settlements, the vast majority of schools that were developed by the 1930s that were serving black learners were run by missions and operated with state aid. English Christian missionaries first pioneered formal education for indigenous South Africans from the late 1700s. Despite the colonial paternalistic undertones and varying levels of state support, these institutions provided academic curricula, mathematics, and the classics that cultivated a critical and intellectually orientated black learned class. Missionary schools provided rare, high-quality education to black South Africans, acting as incubators for generations of anti-apartheid leaders. When the National Party took power, the apartheid-led governments sought to control every aspect of black education. The ruling National Party viewed the independent academic schools as a threat and sought to dismantle missionary schools through the Native Education Commission, which was designed to strip mission schools of their independence and state funding, with an overarching goal to shift the curriculum away from academic learning towards manual labor and subservience, ensuring the endless supply of cheap semi-skilled black labor. The Native Education Commission, also known as the Iceland Commission, was tasked with investigating all aspects of black African education. Established in 1949, the Native Education Commission aimed to provide education for natives as an independent race, which took no consideration their past, present, racial qualities and distinctive characteristics. The Commission believed in the importance of Bantu education, incorporating Bantu culture and further developing it. This education system did not preserve Bantu or native culture, but was intended used as a tool of suppression and control. Furthermore, the segregation of schools according to race was interpreted as a more harmful than helpful gesture, as low-quality education and resources were given to Bantu schools as a result of the strict restrictions of state funds to benefit the white schools. This resulted in black Bantu schools not receiving adequate infrastructure, poor trained teachers, and a focus on vocational training rather than academic training, which was intentionally done to streamline black students into manual labor.
No black is allowed to hold a position higher than a white. But the system of job reservation goes further and reserves all so-called skilled work for whites. For example, these white crane drivers can never be replaced by blacks. The whites call it their civilized labor policy. Dr. Verwoerd, the last Prime Minister, was very explicit about the position of black workers.
There is no place for him in the European community above the level of certain forms of labor.
rigid colour bar is the basis for the inequality in the wages paid to black and white. The average income for a white family of 5 is £60 a week. For a black family of 5, it's £4.50 a week. And the gap has widened over the last 10 years. Under the master and servant laws, a black in many industries can go to jail for being absent from work, for trying to change his job before his contract expires, or for refusing to obey a command. Furthermore, black trade unions aren't recognized, and nearly all strikes are illegal. In fact, black workers have no protection under the law. As Dr. Kernhoff said while Minister for Bantu Affairs,
African males from the homelands have no rights whatsoever in South Africa. They are only in South Africa to sell their labor.
the cheap labor system depends upon the government control of the movement of the blacks.
I love white children that I've been looking after, and they love me. They probably like my own babies. Some of them are married. Some of them has children, which are probably my grandchildren. To look after a white madam's child, love her or him, give all you can, make him happy, and until he or she grows. Sometimes we have a nasty feeling to say, here am I looking after somebody else's child. Who's looking after my child? Here am I eating. Here am I feeding somebody's child. Who's feeding my child? What is my child eating? But we sort of pretend we are happy because it's not going to help us. You can't work and look after your own child. It's not easy.
The Commission produced the Iceland Report, which called for radical measures to restructure education along racial lines, promoting mother tongue instruction, cultural segregation, and an education system designed to prepare Black South Africans primarily for manual labor within the apartheid economic environment. Following the Iceland Commission reports, the government was urged to take charge of education for Black people in order to make it part of the general socio-economic plan for the country. The commission was generally followed by the Bantu Education Act of 1953. Initially, under this act, the language of instruction depended on specific native groups and the compulsory teaching of English and Afrikaans. The act required Black children to attend government schools that were aimed at training children to prepare for the manual labor and menial jobs that the government deemed suitable for those of their race. The act was explicitly intended to inculcate the idea that Black people were to accept being subservient to white South Africans. Funding for the schools was to come from the taxes paid by the communities that they served. So Black schools received only a small fraction of the amount of money that was available to their white counterparts. As a result, there was a profound shortage of qualified teachers where the student-teacher ratio ranged between 40 to 60 students per one teacher in Bantu schools. Alternative schools that offered better basic education to Black people had been completely phased out by the 1950s and became illegal under the Education Act. Mission schools either closed down or continued to be funded independently by the church or from donations. The destruction of the missionary school system was a major setback for Black education. High schools were initially mainly concentrated in the Bantustans that the government had intended as homelands for Black people. Over the beginning of the 1970s, the need for more workers in the cities resulted in more high schools in the townships. People of color were barred from attending open universities by the extension of the University Education Act of 1959. And under apartheid, Black technical colleges were deliberately and systematically marginalized as part of the wider policy of racial segregation through education. Collectively, the Bantu Education Act of 1953 and the extension of the University Education Act of 1959 formalized racial segregation in all education sectors. Black technical colleges received a fraction of the funding allocated to their white counterparts, leading to a lack of essential resources, physical infrastructure with overcrowded classrooms and deliberate resource disparity that ensured Black people were only trained for low-skilled manual labor jobs to maintain the racial hierarchy of the workforce. The curriculum of the Black technical colleges was restrictive and narrow, focused on basic skills for specific trades such as bricklaying, welding, and carpentry, and did not offer advanced, specialized, or academic courses available at white institutions. This limited career opportunities for Black students with the goal to create a workforce that could serve the needs of the white economy.
Bantu education prepares the Black child for a subsequent role in society.
By 1976, student-led protests opposed the government's plans to impose the Afrikaans language as the main medium of instruction in Black schools. A peaceful protest by students turned into a violent massacre where over 170 children were killed by police. The unrest spread to other townships, leaving an enduring impression on resistance to apartheid. The Bantu Education Act was replaced by the Education and Training Act of 1979. With the fall of apartheid, mandatory segregation in education ended with the passage of the South African Schools Act in 1996 under the presidency of Nelson Mandela. But the education gap caused by the inequalities of the Bantu Education Act and decades of substandard education under the oppressive education system needed to be undone. Sweeping post-apartheid reforms caused a huge deficit between state-owned schools, now known as multiracial schools that were previously designated for white students, and the state-owned schools within the townships that are predominantly attended by Black students. This gap, caused largely by the mismanagement of state resources and socio-economic inequality within the townships, has been left behind by the legacy of apartheid. This disproportionately affects formerly Black schools that were previously governed by the system of Bantu education. Under the presidency of Thabo Mbeki, the government conducted a huge overhaul of South Africa's vocational and technical education system through the Further Education and Training Act of 1998. These reforms consolidated the smaller fragmented apartheid-era system of technical colleges into larger, more expensive FET institutions. This consolidation led to the closure of many trade and agricultural schools, resulting in the loss of localized hands-on vocational training. The phasing out of specific vocational pathways left a huge gap in mid-level technical and artisanal skills. Despite these hindering reforms caused by policies implemented and approved by his government, the former president Thabo Mbeki maintains that the unemployment crisis is driven by the lapse in skills and a shortage in the necessary expertise among young South Africans. These sweeping reforms implemented by the post-apartheid South African government created schools and technical colleges that were strained by massive underfunding and left people from lower socio-economic backgrounds and previously disadvantaged backgrounds lacking in university readiness for bigger mainstream universities that are also more expensive to attend for the vast majority of South Africans living on the fringes. The decolonization of the South African schooling system is a process that is still currently in progression. And 30 years into democracy, this process has been slow and poorly conducted, as many present-day schools that enroll children from previously disadvantaged backgrounds and lower socioeconomic backgrounds are extremely underfunded and severely under-resourced. According to the Department of Education statistics from 2018, out of 23,741 public schools, 20,000 of those schools have no laboratories, 18,019 do not have libraries, 16,897 have no access to the internet, and additionally 1,000 schools have no sports facilities and 1,000 other schools have no perimeter fencing. It is to be noted that majority of these schools are located in areas that were previously demarcated for Black, Colored and Indian people and have now accommodated economically disadvantaged communities. This is a stark contrast to the multiracial and independent schools that are often better funded and well maintained with adequate infrastructure and high quality resources and offering education to people in the middle to higher economic brackets. The critical skills gap for modern Black South Africans is directly rooted in the legacy of Bantu education. It is a direct and long-term consequence of the Apartheid-era education system, designed to restrict Black people to manual labor and subservient roles. The system deliberately suppressed access to higher education, mathematics, and advanced technical and academic training. Post-apartheid efforts to reform the education system have been hampered by systematic issues, including persistent inequalities in funding and a vocational training sector that does not effectively prepare students for the modern-day job market. The massive skills gap has been a contributing factor to the ever-increasing unemployment rates in South Africa. Collectively, learners that are fortunate enough to receive crucial skills lack the adequate opportunities for employment in the work environment, leaving people from lower socio-economic backgrounds in poverty and unemployment or forever competing with external migrant labor for lower level income jobs, as higher level income positions that were previously reserved solely for whites in management and academic areas now have been shared amongst the learned and middle class.
There's nothing that you're teaching our kids. You and I are product of nonsense education systems, boo. Somebody gotta tell them. 30% of nothing. Even if it goes to, even if they say pass mark is 80%, it's 80% of nothing. There's a German kid right now, as you and I speaking, subject mining. But when you look at his continent, wherever he comes from, there's no minerals underground. But the boys and girls are being taught about mining and minerals. Me and you, there was no subject called mining in high school. What mining were you taught in high school? What's the process to start a mine? Just tell me basics of mining. But mining is a strong pillar, probably amongst the strongest pillars of our economy. So that means that there's a child in Germany somewhere that's being prepared, in Asia somewhere that's being prepared to come and run this economy, while your kids are being prepared to come and work for those German kids that are going to come here in future. Because your kids are being taught how to do nonsense, how to label an insect. Mining, manufacturing. Why aren't those things primary subjects in primary school, in high school, so that you've got a basic understanding of your own economy? That means some people must come from somewhere to run this economy, because your kids were never taught anything about this economy. So we mustn't even dare to want to argue with me, not you personally, anyone, about the education system or any other system in this country. It's designed to continue systematic slavery and suppress the people of the day and make sure that the future belongs to those who are prepared for it.
Deficiency has made a lot of useless billionaires. Now, why am I saying that? We have failed to build our own institutions. We have failed to build anything 30 years down the line. There's nothing. Till today, we are fighting to take our children to the white schools. Because we have failed to build or empower and improve our own institutions. It takes us back to the former Bantu universities, the black universities, Teflon, Unive, Fort Hare. These universities under the apartheid government were the best, but it has collapsed under the black government. Because we have failed to empower. What have stopped Univen to be given and to be funded and supported to be at the same level as Wits University? What stops University of Limpopo to have been funded, infrastructure, everything, research, everything intentionally, and put it in the same level as University of Pretoria? What stopped Fort Hare to have been supported and improved to be at the same level as Rhodes? Why? But it has collapsed from where it was before 94 to be a shade of its former self. When you go to Fort Hare, you will be in class in a university. There is a cow looking at you in the window. At university, you are walking to lectures. You are walking on top of a cow dung, or there is a goat in the lecture room. That's how divorced with reality with these people that we call our parents. But because we have failed to build our own institutions, how are we going to build our own institutions when we can't preserve what you have, the little that you have? So what I'm saying now...
So you say the billionaires are not conscious?
They're not. That's the problem. They're not. So it's money that has been fallen into people that are supposed to be, machine operators at Unilever, but they're billionaires. You realize that this guy is supposed to be a machine operator there at Unilever, doesn't deserve money. That's why you see them in turbans with money piles dancing like that clown that was arrested there, that Bafana fellow, that short one, dancing there with piles of money. Like, this is a fool. That's the image of black people that they portray to us. We have even failed to take what is good from the Boers, build institutions. You look at No. The Boers have built a university at Centurion. Top class. It's here. And the requirement is Afrikaans. Yeah, it's theirs. In the next 10 years, we will be protesting to take our children there. We have failed to build our own institutions. I'm telling you, Magji, the 10 years, you have a daughter. Yeah, you will be fighting to take it there because it is the best. It is providing everything that the world needs. Now, these people are visionaries. They know what the market needs. We have a government that came, shut down Technicons, Cape Peninsula Technicon, all these Technicons, they shut them down and gave them a status of a university. For what good reason? You need technicians, you need plumbers, but you don't have them. Because you changed Technicons. They knew the Apartheid government why they had universities and technicals. Because they needed the artisans. They needed the technicians. Today, we are being told that no, you can't get rid of Pakistanis because who will fix cell phones? Why don't we have all these institutions not producing phone technicians? And who are these universities producing for? Why is there a disjuncture between the education system and what the market needs? What is the purpose of education if it doesn't speak to the needs of society? Because the purpose of education is meant to change the lives of our people. If I am educated, but I brag about being educated, because the problem that we have now, we have people having more degrees, qualifications, have more degrees more than a thermometer. For what? How does that translate into changing our lives on the ground?